Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to half term, a well-deserved half term at that. I'm hoping Libby's going to help me with this one tonight because I'm a little bit lost for words. It's a long time since I've seen Human Nature, Family of Blood, and it's just as good a Doctor Who story as I can remember, quite frankly. And when I said in the past, the best Doctor Who story of all time, oftentimes I think it's been something that's been the sort of the apex of a type of story. You know what I mean? Case Van der Zaan is an odd story, but, you know, it has a precedent in various things in the past, especially his first Doctor stories, actually. It's quite a first Doctor story. Remembrance of the Daleks is the accumulation, at least at that point, of a Dalek story that's been going on for a long time, really. And City of Death is peak Tom. But there's nothing like this, is there? There's nothing like this, apart from the fact that there is something like this, because there's a book that existed prior to it being on the telly. And when he said, after the sort of teaser at the start, I bet Whovians were really surprised when that was on the telly the first time, because that's exactly the sort of thing that my daughter says.
Very funny when she said
Yeah, and I said, no, Wyn, because this existed. No, I must have read this twice, at least in my life. That cover's ripped, actually. That's shocking. And even though it looks like it's got Turlo on the front, and it hasn't got Turlo in it, this episode still came as quite a shock. Because honestly, it's just sublime. The only three things that I really thought that I wanted to talk about directly, four actually, if I include the young man, the two of the kids actually, the one who plays the Family of Blood, the son of mine, is unbelievable. The way that he is, it's partly just his face, for want of a better word, but the way he uses his face and the way he's filmed is just...
He looks very alien.
My gosh. He absolutely inhabits that role, and I can't think... It's such a shame that he's not been able to come back in that role because he is just unbelievable. And, of course, the kid whose name I don't know, and it's shocking, he's not a kid anymore, he's bloody a young man.
Nicholas something.
Is he?
I don't know.
What was his name? Thomas?
I
Thomas?
need to look it up.
Absolutely fantastic performance from him. And really, the emotional... Well, not the emotional heart of the story, we'll get on to that in a moment. The other thing I wanted to talk about in relation to this story is Martha. Because forget everything I said about Martha. if there's a story that just shows how she has arrived not just at companion status, but she's shouldering a burden that not many companions, well, no companions, but the level of responsibility she has in this story.
She seems to suddenly, like, she goes from being shit in the previous ones to knocking it out of the park.
Unbelievable. That moment...
It's like someone took her to one side and said, Martha,
give her a stiff
one
talking
likes
to.
you. You've not got a lot long left.
That moment at the start of Family of Blood where she basically does the doctor role and sort of grabs one of them, holds the gun, does this, shouts to John Smith to get everybody out, at which point Joan, I'll talk about her in a moment, gets everybody out on behalf of him. Absolutely fantastic. And genuinely... It just goes to show that RTD has a plan in mind for Martha, and it's a good plan, isn't it? It's a bit difficult to watch at the time, though. And also, it's fair to say that I think this is a new Who development, this sort of long-term character development. You know, I'm not used to it as a Doctor Who fan
Do you think
still.
they had that plan in place before?
I think...
Or do you think he went, this isn't really working?
No, I think he had it in place. I think he knew.
I'm not sure.
Well... You know, we shall see.
RTD, let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
God as if. But genuinely, Freema Guyman knocks it out of the park in this. She's absolutely brilliant. And she balances it all. And the racism stuff as well, which is played pitch perfect for this story. Let's be perfectly honest. No, I personally think it is, because I don't think you can put that character in that place and I think it would have felt weird.
But didn't we do that when she went to Shakespeare and like everyone else? It's like, okay, we get it.
Don't forget, it was the first full-time black companion. And I think that needs...
That is true.
More than just a nod. We need to respect that. So that's the thing I wanted to talk about there. The next thing I wanted to talk about, I said it was four things, is the third thing, is Jessica Stevenson, who is one of my favourite actresses And this
I've
goes...
always had a thing for her.
This goes all the way back to when she was in Spaced. If you have never seen Spaced, maybe it's of its time, but it was certainly of my time. I watched it endlessly. I watched it over and over and over again. Well, I don't know if we watched it again now, would it's certainly of a time in my life. I did the things that they do in Spaced. I certainly don't do the things that they do in Spaced. Oh, very different time in life. I don't.
You shouldn't ever do those things.
Of course, I never did those things. My apologies. What? Live in a bedsit with loads of people.
I suppose there was an element of student life there.
Jessica Stevenson's class in this. Or just... Was she Jessica Hind at this point? She changed her name, didn't she? Anyway, I just think that's a really hard role to pull off. And in order to pull that off, you've got to have quite a lot of subtlety to your performance. You've got to be caring and compassionate, but also a strong... I just think it's a tough gig, and she's just perfect. She's absolutely perfect in it. I just think it would be so hard to get that part wrong. There's so many actresses you could have put in that part, and it just would have been wrong. And I cannot think anybody who could have done it better than she does it genuinely. Oh, it's just amazing. I love that character, and I love her performance in it. But the best character in this is John Smith. And the longer the story goes on, and even though John Smith does doctory things, most specifically the bit with the cricket ball, which is a great little conceit, or a clever little thing to have done. Very doable. Well, not... I mean, superhuman, but superhuman within the realms of being a human, you know what I mean? You can throw the right ball at the right way. Anyway, by the by. I just think David Tennant's portrayal of John Smith in this is wonderful. And I remember the story that, and maybe it's a piece of video, but Tennant at the read-through said, my name's Dave, and everybody introduced himself, my name's so-and-so, and I'm playing, and he said, my name's Dave Tennant, and I'm playing John Smith.
Oh, it's Thomas Brodie Sangster, who's from Love Actually.
Oh, the kid?
Yeah.
Right, yes. And he was in The Queen's Gambit, wasn't he? He was in The Queen's Gambit. I just think what he does with this role, knowing that this is a very meta episode in so many ways. It's from a book. There's the constant voiceovers. This is a programme that knows it's a television programme. The symbolism of it. This is a programme that's not afraid to play with some big ideas in storytelling. And the fact that this is an actor playing the role of a man that has been the Doctor, and there is so much going on that could go wrong with this. And Tennant pitches it just perfectly. Just perfectly. You feel as if John Smith is both an extension of and a completely separate character to the Doctor. And that is so hard to get right. But he gets it so right to the extent that at the end, when he's saying, I don't want to open the watch because I'll die, effectively, I'm genuinely thinking, don't open the watch, mate. Don't open the watch because you're really cool. And that bit at the end, and we're going to keep coming back to this because, again, and it ties in, I should have more faith, shouldn't I? It ties into what's happening with Martha here. I don't think RTD has got this overall story of the 10th Doctor in mind. And I know that I'm not supposed to look towards the future, but it's becoming increasingly difficult not to, because where the 10th Doctor ends up in his penultimate story is in a not very likeable spot. There are things that go on in a story that will be called Waters on Mars that we will watch some distance away, and my kids will be flipping terrified of. They were scared of this one. I told them it wasn't scary, and I forgot about the scarecrows. My gosh. But the simple fact is, the 10th Doctor, for being the Doctor that, and Gareth Roberts said this, I'm pretty sure, is the one that's best wired up for sort of social engagement. Quite a nice way of phrasing that. He's better placed to be able to deal with humans on a human basis. And therefore, having done Human Nature, a story that could have been done with the 7th Doctor, could have been done with any Doctor, is done with the 10th Doctor. And to have him stop being human and honestly just get that interaction with Joan so woefully wrong at the end, what an arrogant thing to say to her. Come and travel with me. Be all right, we'll make it work. No, mate. You've just essentially killed the love of her life. And you think you can make it better by offering the blue box? You cocky git. This
I'd
is...
take the blue box.
Well, I'd take the blue box, but that's... Hold on, I'm the love of your life. You're the love of mine, to be fair. That worked out.
How can you say it?
I know, we're the worst. But my point is that, actually, there's some very interesting takes on the Doctor here that are a progression of the character, the big overall character, the from 1963 character. There are new places we're going with this. And human nature is a massively important part of that. And to say that at essence, even without that stuff, it's this amazing story that came before, and then it gets woven into that, even to the extent of, I wonder if we're going to see one of those watches again. Even that, by the way, every time You Are Not Alone comes up, Libby sits over there just to the side of Winnie, goes, You are not alone.
It's important that the kids know that you are not alone.
Genuinely, people, here we go. Is there anything you want to chip in before I sum up with my final sentence that you'll mock me for?
I thought it was... It's one of my favourite two-parters.
Okay. Is there a distinction there between two-parters and one-parters?
Well, they're two parts,
All
don't
right,
they?
fair we go, fair enough. Fair enough.
No, but like when you watch two-parter, sometimes like we've had some recently where you've thought, why did they bother doing that as a two-parter?
That's fair. The Dalek one.
The last one that we watched, I think.
Yeah, the Dalek one. Yeah.
What's his name? And we were like, oh, it could have been a one episode.
Yeah, that's fair.
Whereas that was beautifully paced.
Yeah.
I loved the characters in it, and seeing the Doctor in a different
Yeah.
character was really nice. Especially having watched him recently in Rivals, it's nice to see lots of different characters. Thank you, Mr. Tennant.
Fair enough.
And I like Jessica Hines.
Do you see Tennant's different character in Rivals?
Yeah, he is different.
No, do you see his different character? Because I know in the early part of Rivals you see someone else's.
You do not see his different
Thank
character.
God for that.
His bottom quite a bit.
Don't you know.
Yes, I thought it was lovely.
Okay.
No notes.
Here we go. It's the best Doctor Who story.
Can't even. Daddy, say less.
Is it better than Remembrance of the Daleks, Lib? Is it? Answer in the comments below. Is it better than Caves of Anzarani?
Yes.
Oh, is it better than City of Death?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. So is it still Remembrance and this?
Yes.
Well, there we go. Fine enough. I can't argue with that. Genuinely, people. Oh, I lost for words, he says. 12 and a half minutes in. If you're not, sort that out. Seek that out for comparison. Anyway, there we go. Bye-bye.